Well, we are finally here at the mid-season finale, and all I could say is, well, wow. I'll be back in just a second. What is going on, everyone? This is Ninja Geek here, and today we have some Call of Duty Advanced Warfare gameplay. Here we are at the mid-season finale for The Walking Dead, the final episode of this until February 8th, so when February 8th comes and we get the rest of Season 5, I will obviously be continuing this series, so stay tuned for that when that comes. Please subscribe for more The Walking Dead reviews and stuff like that, and with Advanced Warfare gameplays also as well on the side. So I want to get right into the mid-season finale because this mid-season finale was one of the, it wasn't like the most action-packed, towards the beginning and stuff like that, but it definitely was one of the better episodes of Season 5, and it was a really great way, in my opinion, to, obviously the things that happened, which we're going to talk about, aren't the, like what we wanted to happen, but I think that it was an overall great way to end the mid-season finale versus the way Season 4 ended their mid-season finale, with Herschel, dying, and then the whole group got kind of split up, and that was kind of like a really horrible way to leave it. And then we got kind of excited. We couldn't wait until the next February that came until we got the rest of Season 4. But here we obviously still can't wait, but it's not as much of a, like where, like what's going to happen versus, the Season 4 one. So I actually really like that as well. But anyway, so we're going to start off here with the cop, Bob, as we've been talking about last time. He obviously hit Sasha, which he was being stupid for. And, he tried to get away, but Rick ended up catching up with him. And here's where I don't even know why. So many people just keep getting hit with cars in Season 5. First, it's Carol a couple episodes ago, and now we have Bob just getting ran over, just, like, he literally got hit. He vaulted forward, like, it must have been, like, 10 feet forward. His leg flew forward. I was laughing pretty hard, actually, when that came out. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, it really wasn't sad because I actually, he was on the cop side, obviously because he's a cop, so, I obviously didn't want him to survive, at least unless, we needed to get him back to, the hospital group. So, if we had to do that, then obviously for the trade. But otherwise, I really couldn't care about him all that well. So, when he got hit, it was actually pretty funny. I was laughing pretty hard. And it's just, I don't even know what the deal is with Carol getting hit and then he gets hit. Like, people, like, where do they come up with the idea of just running over cars now? Because it kind of made that connection back. But anyways, after that happens, Rick just, like, gets out and with, really no hesitation, he says, you should have, acted differently, and just instantly kills him there. I kind of think that right in that moment, he kind of acted like a Shane kind of person. Obviously the transformation of Rick Grimes from the beginning of Season 1 to now is just an outstanding, accomplishment, or not really, like, something that's great, but, it's just it's fun to see how far that Rick Grimes has actually evolved since Season 1, and now he took that cop out with no problem at all. It's just one of those things, it's just what he had to do, and, he obviously he didn't kill Sasha, but he tried his best to get away at least, and he didn't make it, so luckily, Rick did that. I probably would have done the same exact thing, but you could see obviously how Rick is turning into. But anyway, so we cut back to Gabriel, this is where we saw the trailer for the next episode last time. Gabriel's at the school. He wanted to see what happened for himself, apparently. He didn't turn as insane as I thought he was. I thought he was really going insane the last episode that we saw Gabriel in The Walking Dead, when he tried to escape the church and all that stuff. But within this episode, he kind of comes back, he kind of collects himself as he comes back to the church and back, and he meets with Michonne and Carl again, so I think that, he's not as insane as before. Lots of people want him to die. I really don't think that he's that bad of a person. He's really harmless, when you get to know him and stuff like that, so I really don't care. That if he actually goes with them or not. I'm pretty sure he probably will end up going with Rick's group in the end, but we'll have to see about that. But anyway, so Gabriel comes back. He leads walkers because, he goes into the school and there's a huge amount of walkers. They infest the church. basically Michonne and Carl just like pack up Judith. They pack up a bunch of stuff, and they tried to board up the church as best they can because it's really infested with a bunch of walkers. They're not going to go back inside trying, so they got to figure out where to go next. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Abraham just plows right through the stairs. You see him, he's just like, I'll take these stairs out here. He just plows right through those stairs and just instantly like takes out the walkers that were like in the front area, so that they couldn't even get out the doors, which was a big help. But so basically, Abraham reconnects. They tell Michonne and Carl that Eugene lied about the whole mission, that we found out a couple of episodes ago, that Eugene lied about being a scientist and going to Washington and all that. And then after that, we get to see them trying to get together. And basically, I believe it is Michonne or Carl. I believe it's Michonne that says, Beth is still alive. Daryl, heard about it, and they're Rick and them and a group took them out to go to Atlanta to try and get them back. So they basically all head out on a mission to Atlanta, and that's basically that part until we see the end of the episode, which I'm going to get to, obviously, at the end of this episode. So, they take off for the hospital to help Rick try and get Beth and Carol back. So anyways, the cops, meet up with Rick, not, intentionally like Rick, they lead them somehow into the area, and Rick, tries to make a proposal, 2 people for their 2 people, 2 cops for Beth and Carol. So, the cops actually were pretty nice, I do have to say, because the cops could have been like, no, you know what I mean? Some of the cops there were really bad. Some of them, Dawn obviously had some issues. Different officers had the officer, what was his name? I can't remember, something. I forgot his name exactly. But, the one that fell down the elevator, that officer, he was I didn't like him at all, even from like the start, since we found out about him a couple episodes ago, along with Dawn. I mean, Dawn kind of seemed to side with Beth, but now obviously not. And so the cops anyways lead them back into the hospital to try and, make this deal, this proposal. And it was a trade, 2 cops for Beth and Carol, and they did it, one by one. So it was like Carol went first for the 1 cop, and then they traded Beth for the other cop. And then basically what goes down here is the last 10 minutes of the episode, which I predicted last time was going to happen, where the end of the episode was going to be like the main focal point of what happens. And obviously, and then Dawn steps forward and says, you're not going anywhere yet. Now I just need Noah to complete the deal. And Rick is like, no, that wasn't the deal. Tried to do my best impression, but whatever. So, Rick's basically like, that's not part of the deal, man, because why would you even try to do that? We had a deal. That wasn't part of the deal. Noah's trying to get home to his family, and Dawn is like, you know what? No, I need Noah because now you took Beth. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. That's just not an option there, all right? Well, you see, that's just not going to happen with Rick Grimes in the area. Noah's not going to go with them. But Noah, unwillingly, he steps forward because he doesn't want anything bad to happen and says, you know what, I'm just going to do this. It's going to be all right. And Beth, this is where Beth's big moment is. She steps forward and she hugs Noah because, obviously it's going to be a goodbye. She's been a couple weeks with him in the hospital with the time frame that she had spent there and with him. And so, she wants to say goodbye because, at this point, we don't know what's going to even happen. So, we think that they're just going to leave and that's going to be it. And Beth, walks over to Dawn that's 2 feet away from Noah and basically says, that she knew, what kind of person she was or something along those lines. And before in the episode, I would like to know, I forgot to add in that she stuck like a little kind of like tiny scissor. It wasn't really tiny. It was like a medium-sized one into her like cast chest or into her arm. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like in like under her arm where her cast kind of was. And a cast for like whatever it might have been. It was wrapped around her hand, and she basically, stabbed Dawn. I mean, at first this came to shock, and then literally 2 seconds later, you just see a bullet like hole go right through Beth's head, and it was just like I literally looked at the TV screen, and I was like I had no words. I didn't even like scream or anything like that. You just literally saw that, and you saw Dawn, and then Beth fell over, obviously, because, you know, when people die, they don't stand up straight. Common sense. And Beth falls over, and they and you know, you see Dawn with the gun there, and this was the best part of the whole episode. And you know, they just stand there like they're just like what the hell just happened? And then, you know, Daryl just takes immediate action. He pulls his pistol out of his pocket, or not his pocket, his like his pants, like, you know, you keep it like wrapped, you know, you put like the end of it in your pants, like, so, you know, he had it there. He just whips it out and just instantly takes Dawn out. She's just gone. Like, that's it. Like, she didn't mean to do it. It was all silenced. I love the way they edited that. And then he just whipped out that pistol and just like friggin' shot her head off. And that was it of Dawn. And I thought that serious crap was going to go on there. I thought that it was going to lead on to the next part where we're going to be, you know, like trying to figure out what happens next. Like at that point, I thought that the cops were going to either try and hold them hostage or whatever. And I was going to be like, no, don't end it here. And then basically after that, one of the cops that they were actually keeping hostage, I forget the names of the cops because they just came in, so I'm sorry, but she said, basically, you know, stop right now, lower your weapons, we don't need this. That was only between Dawn, that was only her, we're not like that. So they lowered their weapons. Obviously, everyone is still in shock, especially, you know, Rick's group, because they just saw Beth just got murdered, and so basically they were like, you know, if it's safe here, if you want to stay here, you can, you know, stay here. We're trying to survive. It's better in here than out there. And Rick, obviously, you know, I mean, if you were in that position where one of your police officers just murdered one of your friends who you've been friends with since basically season 2, I mean, obviously, you know, in real life there's no seasons, so if you know, been friends with for a couple of years now, you wouldn't be like, all right, sure, I'll pack my stuff and stay. No, you wouldn't be like, so, you know, Rick was like, no, we're not doing that. Like, you know, you could tell his voice was, you know, powerful as saying no. And so then what happened was basically they, you know, Rick asked anyone if they wanted to come with them to get out. They could, you know, step forward now. And that was basically the end. We got a little bit of a different scene at the end of the episode, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But basically my thoughts on that are that, I mean, obviously it was really sad when we saw Beth had to die. Later on in The Talking Dead, we got to see her. She was actually crying. It was a very sad moment. She's no longer part of the show, but it was fun watching, and I just hate how they bring her on in episode 4 of season 5. I believe it was episode 4, and they continued on in the mid-season finale. She just, you know, died. There's no more, you know, it was like, when is Beth coming back? When is Beth coming back? We get her for a few episodes. I believe it was 4, so it was about another 4 episodes after that, and then she just dies. It was just like astounding to see it. To be honest, in my opinion, I would rather have Carol die, because Beth was young. She had a whole life ahead of her, you know, if she stayed alive. Carol was more of like 60 years old. If Carol died, Carol's a really good character, but if Carol died, I would be like, oh, Carol died, that's really sad. You know, but again, she was like 60 years old. At least I could tell. I think she looks around like 60 years old. So, you know, she really doesn't have a life ahead of her. You know, Beth is more like 20 years old, or looks like 20 in there. She's like, I don't exactly know her exact age, but I'm going to go ahead and say in the teen range to maybe about 30 at most. She has a whole life ahead of her, even 30 years or something like that, even in something like this, if she can survive. You know, it's just insane. And it just gets taken out right there. You know, so hopefully she gets to meet up with Herschel somewhere along those lines. You know, the Green family's basically broken apart now. And this is the part where we get to Daryl carrying her outside of the hospital when Rick's group walks out, and they meet up with Abraham's group at the hospital at just the right time. You know, it just seemed like the right time to meet up. You know, that's just where it happened to be. And obviously things didn't go as planned. You know, Maggie was planning on seeing Beth, you know, then she was ready to be happy, and then you just see Daryl walking out with her dead corpse, and that just must have threw Maggie off. It was just completely unexpected. But then what I really liked the fact was that the episode ended there. Nothing else happened. There was, nothing else. Now, we did get to see another cutscene, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but nothing else happened. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't meet up with anyone else. It ended at a nice season finale, or not, a mid-season finale, I mean to say. It ended really good. There was nothing that you would want to continue on, so it basically kind of closed off the half of the season until February 8th, which I'm excited for, and then they cut into this cutscene with Morgan again. We only saw Morgan in the first episode after the episode aired, and we saw him again this episode, and we saw that he actually caught up. He got to the church that we mentioned before earlier in the episode, where obviously Gabriel went to try and see what happened, to figure it out for himself. And then he actually went into the church that they stayed in a little bit late there, Morgan, but still, hopefully you could catch up. Hopefully, you could get into Atlanta and find Rick, because he goes into the church, he sees that there's a map on the floor, and he basically looks at it, and it says it's the note that Abraham left Rick, to try and catch up with him to get to Washington. And, and also another thing that I just actually realized in thinking about this, what is, Rick thinking in terms of how, that Abraham is back already? Like, whoa, like, why aren't they there? Something must click afterwards, obviously, that Eugene lied, but, still, it's like, what was he thinking? But Morgan, anyways, found this map that says the new world's going to need a Rick Grimes, and it just ends right there. So hopefully we can see Morgan catch up to them. There was a question on The Talking Dead that I also want to mention that said, do you think Morgan's like looking to, go on basically like a hunting type of mission? Like he's not like himself like he was back then. I don't think so, to be honest. I really think that he's trying to continue on life, and because he saw Rick Grimes note, he's not like looking to like hunt anyone that he finds down. He looks more calm now. He looks way calmer than in season 3 that we saw him in previous. Here, we kind of see him moving on from that, and he's trying to start a new life, and he finds that, and I think that you could see in his face that he has the hope to continue on, and we leave off on a nice note there. So I hope you all did enjoy this episode and the series. Until February 8th comes on, then I will continue. So that means that the next episode of this will be on February 9th, because it goes up Monday, the day after the episode goes up, and February 8th is a Sunday, so it would be February 9th. So stay tuned for that. I will see you on whatever my next video happens to be. Leave a comment below what you think of the mid-season finale episode. I want to really hear your thoughts, and I will see you next time on one of my next videos. I'm Ninja Geek. I'm out. Peace.